CUPE calls out SHA executives for salary increases while their members work without a contract. Raising awareness for Regina's drug crisis. And a shooting in Regina leaves 2 men injured.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. Hospital support workers are upset that top SHA executives have received raises while union members have gone without a pay increase for 3 years. Today, they held a rally outside Regina Wascana Rehabilitation Center to pressure the government for a new contract. Wayne Mantica was there and has more.
Dave Eager is a healthcare support worker who spent years working 3 jobs as he worked his way up at the hospital.
I had 3 jobs from like 2001 till 2 years ago, and now I'm just down to 1 working supervisor. Because of my age, I'm getting a little older. I'm only working 1 job. It was very tiresome.
Now he's watching other workers go through what he did.
And our wage is very low, and then they're going to work another part-time or full-time job at minimum wage. And they're still not making ends meet.
CUPE represents 14,000 members in the healthcare sector who work in areas like radiology, dietary services, care aides, and custodial duties. They have not received a raise since their last contract expired in 2023. Yet say some SHA executives have received salary increases ranging from 10 to 14%.
Meanwhile, the provincial government has allowed senior executives from the health authority to laugh all the way to the bank as workers are forced to use the food bank.
In a written statement, the SHA says out-of-scope pay bands have not increased since April 1st, 2022. Any adjustments in out-of-scope salaries is the result of progression within the existing pay bands. It notes that unionized salaries are adjusted in a similar fashion. Wayne Mantica, CTV News, Regina.
As Regina battles an ongoing drug crisis, awareness is at the forefront. Regina Treaty Status Indian Services and the Regina Police Service hosted the 4th annual Drug Awareness Walk in North Central today. As Donovan Mace shows us, addictions continue to touch many areas of the city.
Addiction has left a lasting impact on the life of Jennifer Desjardins.
I am a recovering addict and a recovering alcoholic.
Through her own healing journey, she has lost her sister Nicole and niece Raina in the province's drug crisis.
They both had died from a drug overdose, fentanyl overdose. Everybody has lost somebody to addiction.
It is at this walk Desjardins remembers her family, marching alongside others in the community. A signal in the city of those battling addiction, a show of support for those in recovery, and a chance to honor those lost over the past year.
This is a great way of, coming together and supporting our people and, everybody out there who is on the street, and still active addiction.
Now, according to Regina Police statistics, 48 people have lost their lives to drug toxicity in the city so far this year. Expanding to the rest of the province, that number is well over 200, but it is a 14% decrease compared to 2024 during the same time.
If anything, it makes me want to bring more awareness. It makes me want to have the conversation and continue the conversation, and I think facilitate those conversations at the necessary levels that need to be had.
And the dream one day, the need for this awareness walk is no more.
We'll have the walk today, but tomorrow we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to continue the support of the community and just hold that space.
We don't give up, and just to not give up that faith or that hope, and just to keep loving one another.
Donovan Mace, CTV News, Regina.
Regina police are investigating after 2 people were injured in an incident involving guns. Police were called to a building on the 3700 block of Regency Crescent after 4 a.m., arriving to find 2 men suffering from gunshot wounds. The 19 and 21-year-old victims were taken to hospital with what appeared to be non-life-threatening injuries. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Regina police have charged the third person in relation to a shooting on August the 11th that injured an 11-year-old girl. 41-year-old Michael Mayer is charged with multiple offenses, including attempted murder and reckless discharge of a firearm. Police were called to the 1000 block of Edgar Street in the Eastview neighborhood at 2 in the morning on August the 11th after an 11-year-old girl was shot while in her own home. Earlier this year, 2 other people were charged, 20-year-old Anthony Nabexi and 18-year-old Devin Nabexi. Mayer made his first court appearance this morning. 2 boys are facing serious charges after a man reported being threatened with a gun in Saskatoon. The man told police he was walking yesterday afternoon when he was confronted by a group of youth who threatened him with a gun. The man was able to get away and call for help. Police found the suspects nearby with a fake gun. 2 boys aged 12 and 13 are facing charges of uttering death threats and attempted robbery with a firearm. The 13-year-old boy is also facing charges related to having a weapon and concealing it. A former Saskatoon police officer challenging his dismissal is testifying today after his friendship with a gang associate. Sergeant Robbie Taylor was fired from the Saskatoon Police Service in March over his friendship with a person associated with the Hells Angels. At a hearing appeal today, Taylor said he wanted to be a good influence and help the associate have a better life. He testified the associate had not committed a crime since 2008. Now, earlier in this hearing, Police Chief Cam McBride said that Taylor knew or should have known the friendship was inappropriate and said it compromised the public perception of the police service. Now, proceedings for this resumed earlier today after the hearing officer dismissed an abuse of process application that was filed by Taylor's lawyers. There's some election controversy at the Saskatchewan First Nation, and as Mick Fable tells us, the Election Act that the nation used is coming into question by some of its members.
A number of members from Zagame and Anishinaabeg are raising concerns over a recent election held on their nation.
We want to determine some kind of legitimacy to the elections that's taken place. We feel that their electoral term is over and that they have no legal recourse with which to act. And all of those things they are doing are in contradiction to fair and just governance.
On September 6th, a new chief and council were elected in accordance with the Zagame Anishinaabeg Election Act. The act was voted on the nation in April and passed, allowing for electronic voting to be included in future elections. A week before the election took place, Indigenous Services Canada notified the nation not to use the new act as it had not yet been reviewed by ISC and a new chief and council would not be recognized. Zagame went ahead with the election anyways. When asked for comment, Chief Lynn Akus sent a statement saying, "The Zagame Anishinaabeg Elections Act meets or exceeds the requirements of the First Nations Elections Act, and the election was conducted fairly and transparently." In a statement to CTV News, ISC said it recognizes the named chief and councillors as being elected, though a ministerial order to formally remove the nation from the First Nations Act has not been obtained, and the department is working with the nation to support this transition. Adding, they are aware of the concerns raised about the election, but do not have the authority to investigate or decide on First Nation election matters.
We support sovereignty, but sovereignty has to be done in a fair, just, and legal way. This is not sovereignty. This is not done fair or legally. This process was wrong, and it should not be happening to anybody else across Canada.
ISC says the election can still be appealed within 30 days. In the meantime, Zagame says the newly elected chief and council acknowledge members' concerns and welcome respectful engagement. Mick Fable, CTV News, Regina.
Sabine joins us for our first look at weather and a quiet day, so to speak. We're talking about weather. You got no warnings to mention.
Yeah.
No watches.
It was, I want to say it was an average day, but really we were warmer than average. So yeah, there's not much happening in terms of active weather. We did see a little bit of that cloud cover rolling through, and we did see more of that cloud cover moving eastward, but not much in terms of wind gusts or wind speeds, and no precipitation. There is some rain on the way Sunday night in parts of the southwest part of the province, but temperatures have remained well above average, even as we're taking a look at our current temperatures. 25 degrees over in Maple Creek, and Regina sitting at 20 degrees. Even far up north, Stony Rapids, Buffalo Narrows, La Ronge, all sitting at 20 degrees right now. The average slowly starting to get a little cooler, 17, 18 degrees. We reached 21 degrees late this afternoon, and the warm-up continues heading into this weekend, and even when we are approaching the autumn equinox, which is Monday. But I'll have all those details coming up in your full forecast. Lee?
All right, thank you, Sabine. In the midst of the federal government's ongoing trade dispute with China, a new Angus Reid Institute survey suggests that Canadians are in favor of cutting tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles to secure Canada's canola industry. Sierra D'Souza Butts has the details.
Given the economic impact China's tariffs have had on Canada's canola market so far, Canadians are leaning towards making an international deal.
A lot of Canadians are looking at it and saying, even if potentially this could upset the U.S., that we want to look and potentially protect our own farmers first.
A recent survey by the Angus Reid Institute suggests the majority of Canadians are in favor of dropping Chinese electric vehicle tariffs if it means helping to secure the canola industry. Based on the 340 people surveyed in Saskatchewan, that percentage rises to 68%. The survey question was part of a larger review examining several international trade issues.
But generally, yeah, what we've seen is that Canadians do typically have a pretty unfavorable view of China, but I think there's also a lot of concern about the economic effects of standing up to China, and that this is potentially one of those cases where it's like, okay, well, maybe the economic effects of putting these tariffs in place are not necessarily worth it.
Annual canola exports are worth billions of dollars for the prairie provinces, Saskatchewan producing more than half of Canada's canola crops. Saskatchewan's government and opposition have also expressed a desire to drop the EV tariffs if it brings relief for canola.
This is a call we've been making from day one here, that the province and the feds need to be working in tandem to end those tariffs that producers are paying.
The government of Saskatchewan says Premier Scott Moe's trade mission to China earlier this month was a step towards a potential solution, responding to the survey in a statement saying the government of Saskatchewan is pleased majority of Canadians want to see Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola dropped, which is why Moe and industry leaders have encouraged Prime Minister Mark Carney to build on his work and engage directly with the Chinese government. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
The Moose Jaw branch of the Royal Canadian Legion officially opened the doors to its new location today. Jacob Carr has more from the Friendly City.
A bagpipe procession officially welcomed dignitaries and members of the Royal Canadian Legion Moose Jaw branch into its new building on Friday. After nearly a century at its old location, President of the branch Christine Simpson says it was time for a change and a smaller space, and seeing all of the community's hard work come to fruition brought out the emotion in Simpson.
Very emotional. Everybody that's put the time and the energy and the thoughts and the progress that we've made from a year ago when we got this building.
Longtime branch member and volunteer Esther Macaulay was chosen to cut the ceremonial cake, which displayed a side-by-side photo of the old building and the new one. Macaulay says it was a no-brainer to choose to volunteer since her husband is a veteran.
I've only been here about 29 years as a member, but I worked here for 10 years, selling Nevada tickets and a janitor when I first started. I run the crib on Tuesday afternoon, and I help with bingo on Monday night.
Simpson shares a similar sentiment, having served in the military herself from 1974 to 2001, with multiple stations in Canada and a stop in Germany. She has been a Legion member since the beginning of her military service.
This is our reason for being, to look after veterans and their families and the RCMP, and it just, when everybody comes together like they are today, it makes your heart, it's really full, and it's been a great day.
Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
Well, some brave youngsters left their mark today at Jim Pattison's Children's Hospital. Kids impacted by cancer and other patients at the hospital brought some color to a white vehicle, part of the Hyundai Hope of Wheels campaign. Each print symbolizes the courage and unity in the fight to end childhood cancer. This year's campaign saw $100,000 donated to the hospital.
The funds that we have been donated by Hyundai Canada will be used to help the families and the patients through this difficult time, but it'll also contribute to research and making this time as painless as possible throughout the process.
Last year, Jim Pattison Children's Hospital saw more than 3,300 pediatric oncology and hematology patient visits. The 10th annual Lumsden Scarecrow Festival is set to go tomorrow. Hundreds of scarecrows adorn the beautiful valley town, put up by businesses and local residents alike. This is one of the largest annual events hosted by Lumsden, and thousands of visitors are expected on Saturday. Horse-drawn hay rides, an outdoor street market, food vendors, and kid activities, a few of the things going on. There will also be fireworks and an outdoor movie in the evening. Ahead, Canada and Mexico talk strategy ahead of trade talks with Donald Trump in the U.S. And the Liberals table legislation to tackle hate crimes.
Your morning just got a little brighter. Start your day with CTV Your Morning, and you could win $20,000. For your chance to win, watch CTV Your Morning Saskatchewan, weekday morning.
Canada and Mexico have agreed to a strategic partnership towards deepening ties in the face of Donald Trump's trade war on both those countries. The U.S. is expected to make some major demands during renegotiations of the trilateral trade agreement, which is known as CUSMA. At least it is in Canada. Judy Trin has the details from Mexico.
Look at that pride of Canada right there.
Prairie wheat being offloaded from a Canadian train in Mexico. A choreographed moment to emphasize how improving rail lines, ports, and pipelines can lead to economic growth in both countries. The Prime Minister's strategic partnership with President Claudia Sheinbaum aims to boost trade with Mexico. The results will be tracked.
Every 3 months, there will be an accountability mechanism for us to reconvene with Mexico, and in particular, the ministers responsible for the various items in the action plan.
The plan also calls for more cooperation in fighting drug cartels and human trafficking. But analysts say this meeting was more about concerns that the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement is unraveling.
It really is about making sure that we're singing from the same songbook, and that Mexico and Canada are not going to get played off of one another.
This after some troubled trade history. During the first Trump administration, Mexico signed a side deal that threatened a North American agreement. But these two leaders say they're committed to negotiating a continental agreement.
CUSMA, USMCA, is strength together. It's strength of the three countries together.
Now, after the U.S. launched public consultations, Canada is doing the same.
Formally, the beginning of the Canadian consultative process with Canadian industry, businesses, workers.
In the meantime, LeBlanc will be visiting Washington in the next few weeks to continue trade talks. He'll also be leading a trade mission to Mexico in the near future. All this as CUSMA is set to expire in June 2026. Judy Trin, CTV News, Mexico City.
The Liberal government has tabled its first legislation of the fall session of Parliament aimed at protecting communities against hate crimes by expanding federal hate laws. CTV's Abigail Bimman tells us what's in this new bill.
The flames went up the door.
Cantor Henry Topaz's Montreal synagogue has been firebombed twice since the Hamas terror attack of October 7th, 2023. He says the government's new hate crime bill is a step in the right direction.
The idea of vulnerable infrastructure, notably houses of worship, are now more protected than they ever have been before.
Tabling of documents.
Bill C-2 has 4 new hate-related criminal offenses, including making it a crime to promote hate against an identifiable group through symbols, including a swastika and those from designated terror groups, making hate-motivated crime a specific offense, and making it a crime to obstruct or intimidate people trying to access places of worship and other places like schools used by an identifiable group.
The prevalence of hate crimes in this country that steal those freedoms are something that should shock the conscience of every Canadian.
Statistics Canada shows police-reported hate crimes targeting religion have been on the rise, largely due to attacks on Jews and Muslims. In 2024, there were 229 Islamophobic attacks and 920 anti-Semitic.
The application of it is going to be really important to make sure that the right balance is struck between, making sure that Canadians still have, the basic ability to express themselves, and we're maintaining civil liberties.
The Justice Minister says that balance was top of mind when crafting the new bill. It's not clear yet what support this minority government may get from other parties as this bill moves its way through the House. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Ottawa and some provinces are picking sides in a Supreme Court challenge to Quebec's secularism law.
We are arguing that even though the notwithstanding clause of the Canadian Constitution is being used, that courts across Canada should still be able to review laws like Quebec's Bill 21.
Manitoba has filed its intervention in this landmark case, so has Ottawa. They're arguing courts should be able to rule whether laws violate the Charter, even though they've been shielded by the notwithstanding clause. Ottawa goes further, asking the Supreme Court to set limits on how the cause could be invoked. Quebec passed its religious symbols ban back in 2019, using the notwithstanding clause to keep it from Charter challenges. The Quebec government is accusing Ottawa of attacking provincial rights. Now, in response, Premier Scott Moe says Saskatchewan will strongly oppose attempts to limit the notwithstanding clause as an intervener in this case. Moe argues the notwithstanding clause is a critical part of the Constitution and shares Quebec's viewpoint that Ottawa is trying to limit provincial autonomy. Most recently, the Saskatchewan government used the notwithstanding clause for its school pronoun law in 2023, also known as the Parents' Bill of Rights. Last month, Saskatchewan's Court of Appeal ruled that while a court cannot strike down a legislation, it can rule on whether or not the law violates constitutional rights. Alberta is also planning to use the notwithstanding clause on 3 similar policies in that province. Overseas, Estonia will start consultations with its NATO allies after Russian fighter jets violated its airspace today. 3 aircraft spent 12 minutes over the Baltic country in what the government described as an unprecedented brazen incursion. Italy Air Force jets in the region as part of a NATO policing mission responded to the incident. Estonia summoned a Russian diplomat in protest. It was the 4th time Moscow has violated Estonian airspace this year. Other alliance countries have reported similar incursions. Just over a week ago, NATO planes downed Russian drones over Poland. And the towers of one of the world's most famous landmarks reopened today after years of reconstruction. The opening of the towers marks the final stage in the restoration of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Much of it was destroyed by fire 6 years ago. The tower tour now features new spaces such as close-up access to the bells. Notre Dame's reconstruction was defined by extraordinary craftsmanship and nearly $1 billion in global donations. The Riders are looking at the possibility of tailgating before games next season. What that could look like after the break.
Concern continues over rural ER disruptions. Monday on Your Morning, what's being done about it? We're in conversation with the province's health minister. We'll see you then.
Let's take a look at what you can expect heading into the weekend. The leaves are turning color, which is a sure sign that fall is on the way, but the temperatures are telling us a different story. Today in the Regina area warmed up to about 21 degrees, currently sitting at 20 with the winds. They haven't been too bad today either. Winds currently just over 10 kilometers an hour. We could see the winds pick up just slightly as we head into next week, but in terms of what's to come heading into the weekend, active weather, anything like that, we're going to see mostly clear conditions similar to what we saw today. Now, we did have a little bit of that cloud cover along the eastern border, but coming up into tonight, we'll start to see a lot of that cloud cover lift as we head into tomorrow. And for much of the weekend, expecting mostly clear, sunny conditions throughout the weekend. Now, it won't be, this is Sunday morning where we're sitting at now, but as we head into Sunday evening, you'll see that system coming in from the west, southwest areas, bringing some rain into areas like Maple Creek, Swift Current, Lloydminster, and even further up north. As of right now, it doesn't look like a large system that's going to be bringing large rainfall totals. Last I checked, Maple Creek could see about 2 millimeters, trace amounts of rain in the Swift Current, Kindersley area. And then as we get further into the northern parts, Lloydminster, Buffalo Narrows, those areas could see anywhere between 2 to 4 millimeters of rain. So not a huge system and not a whole lot of rain coming through the area. Temperatures, though, continuing to be warm and continuing to warm up even more by the time we get into Sunday. Tonight, the lows are still looking like we'll see them above the average, and tomorrow daytime highs continuing to be above average as well. 25 for La Loche, sunshine in La Ronge, 23 degrees, sunny in Prince Albert, 24, 26 and mainly sunny in Lloydminster. When we get down into the North Battleford area, 27, a mix of sun and cloud, 24 and sunny for Saskatoon tomorrow, 22, and a mix of sun and cloud for Yorkton in the southwest. Even warmer, 29 degrees expected for Maple Creek, mainly sunny, 28 for Swift Current and Moose Jaw, nothing but sunshine there. And in the southeast, still very warm, 27 Assiniboia, mainly sunny, 26 and sunny for Weyburn, 22 and mainly sunny for Estevan. Could see a little bit of that cloud cover tonight, but nothing but sunshine as we head into tomorrow. Tonight, clear conditions for Regina, 9 degrees, and then warming up to 25 degrees and sunny tomorrow with the winds up to 25 kilometers an hour. So fall, we're already starting to see the leaves change, but summer ends and fall begins. The autumn equinox enters at 12:19 on Monday, and I know the leaves are probably already falling in many areas. You may want to spend the weekend spend the weekend enjoying it, because this is what it's looking like. 25 tomorrow, 28 and sunny on Sunday. By Monday, of course, autumn equinox heading in around 12:19 on Monday. 22 is the expected daytime high, nothing but sunshine. And then we'll see a warm up as we head into midweek. So 24 and sunny on Tuesday. By Wednesday, we will start to see those winds picking up. Wednesday, Thursday, up to about 40, even closer to 50 kilometers an hour for some wind gusts there. But 26 expected on Wednesday, 24 and mainly sunny on Thursday. And by Friday, nothing but sunshine, but that's when we'll start to see those temperatures dip a little. So obviously that's a change from 24 on Thursday down to about 18 degrees on Friday. And of course, the average is about 17, 18 degrees. So maybe we're just letting you have one full week of some really good summer-like conditions, Lee. And then as we head into the end of next week, we start to see those temperatures coming back down into that seasonal range, about 17, 18 degrees. But a very warm weekend and week ahead.
Too bad mid-September, late September to have a weekend like that.
Well, I did check last year's temperatures, so there were a few days up until about September 30th where we saw temperatures getting into like 32 degrees. I don't see that happening, but we could see some 30-degree days tomorrow, so that's not too bad of a way to spend your weekend.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah.
For sure. Spend some time outside.
Exactly.
Thanks, Sabine.
You bet.
Well, earlier this week, the Roughriders announced the possibility that tailgating might be allowed before games at Mosaic Stadium next season. Donovan May says more on what that could look like for fans.
With a team as connected to tradition as the Saskatchewan Roughriders, it may come as a surprise one football staple doesn't exist at Mosaic Stadium.
The right game again.
Tailgating.
He's going to have some wings.
But that could soon change. In an email to season ticket holders Wednesday, Rider President and CEO Craig Reynolds says the team is working with the government of Saskatchewan on potential ways to further elevate the game day experience. And next season, we hope to bring legal tailgating at the Mosaic Stadium footprint for Rider home games. Now, in recent history, pregame festivities have been limited to official team events like Party in the Park. And in fact, Saskatchewan is one of only 2 markets in the CFL which doesn't allow pregame tailgates. Montreal, Toronto, Hamilton, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and on special occasion, Ottawa each allow tailgates outside their respective stadiums, leaving only Saskatchewan and BC as the outliers. However, tailgating does come with some rules where it is permitted. In Calgary, tailgate parties must be limited to 1 parking stall, selling of food or drinks is not allowed, and tailgates must be fully packed packed up 1 hour after the game starts, among other guidelines, including no open alcohol. Now, in order for the Riders to change their policy, some frameworks would have to change. Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming says a number of considerations would need to be developed, including ensuring public safety, which is a top priority. And any potential framework would require support from and close collaboration with the City of Regina for these events.
Bylaw or legally wise, I'm not sure. We'd have to look into that and kind of figure that out. And I'm sure that'd be part of the engagement when we work with them on that.
Now, the Riders say tailgate discussions and planning remain in the very early stages and are grilling up updates for the coming months. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
Still ahead, hockey fans rejoice. The WHL and SJHL lift the curtain on their new seasons tonight.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
The WHL careers of Maddox Schultz and Liam Pugh officially kick off tonight as the Regina Pats drop the puck on a regular season in Swift Current versus the Broncos. This year's first and third overall picks are expected to be in the lineup tonight for the Pats. They can play up to 34 regular season games as 15-year-olds. The Broncos, meanwhile, have seen plenty of turnover, but believe that they can still be competitive. Puck drop is at 7 o'clock. Now, as for the Moose Jaw Warriors, they are in Brandon after winning it all in 2024. The Warriors coming off a season where they finished dead last, though not a surprise considering they went for it all and it clearly paid off in 23-24. Game already underway right now. We can tell you it's 2-1. Pavel McKenzie had made it 2-1 against Brandon. SJHL season also gets underway tonight. All 12 teams playing, including the Yorkton Terriers. They're heading to Weyburn to face the Red Wings, who made it all the way to the final last year. Lots of new faces on the Terriers, with only 3 of last year's top 10 scorers returning, but the team is confident they can build off of their Final Four finish last season.
We believe that our team is as competitive, if not more so, than last year with that experience. So we're pretty excited, but you're always nervous this time of year because you know what you don't control is how well other teams are doing. So you know, we know Melville down the road is also hungry and coming into the season with a chip on their shoulder. Weyburn gained even more playoff experience than us, and then Estevan's a brand new staff, and they're going to be a hungry team too. So our division's going to be an interesting one and super competitive, I believe.
The Terriers will definitely have the community behind them. A few years ago, the SJHL team was in financial trouble, but thanks to a ticket drive campaign, they had the highest attendance for a CJAHL team in Western Canada last year.
It's good for the community. I have kids that grow up here and they look forward to Terriers games and who's coming, and you know, it's what they talk about at school, and you know, that's how I grew up. That's I think how a lot of people grew up in Yorkton here is looking forward to Fridays and Saturdays at the Gallagher Center and watching the Terriers and running into your buddies. So yeah, we wanted to create that atmosphere, and it certainly feels like it's on its way towards kind of reigniting that tradition.
By the way, Commissioner says attendance was up all across the SJHL as well, and the new team in Warman looks like they will draw well. They're going to be hosting Humboldt tonight. All their games, Melville will entertain Estevan. Provincial pride is on the line tonight in Canada West football as the undefeated U of R Rams take on the 2-1 U of S Huskies up in Saskatoon.
Through the air to Coots, it's intercepted. Carson Sombach. Sombach's got some room, just the quarterback to beat.
Last time these two teams played, the Rams had 4 interceptions, leading them to a 19-17 victory, winning the program's second ever Hardy Cup. This season, the Rams have been led by running back Marshall Erickson. He has 482 yards and 6 touchdowns in just 3 games, while Riders draft pick Daniel Weeb is having a great season for the Huskies with 357 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Kickoff 7 o'clock at Griffith Stadium. Well, after coming up just short of the league championship last year, the Saskatchewan Rush are out with their schedule for 25-26. They're going to open the season at home December 6th with a rivalry matchup against the Calgary Roughnecks, the first of 9 home games. The team will end the regular season with a 3-game homestand in March and April. You can find the complete schedule online. Coming up, a survey shows Canadians support dumping the Chinese EV tariffs to help the canola industry.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your rural forecast as we head into the weekend. A beautiful weekend expected for pretty much all of Saskatchewan. If you like these types of temperatures, which I'm pretty sure many of us do, temperatures sitting in the mid to high 20s for many parts, some in the lower 20s, but still above average for many parts of the province, expecting a whole lot of sunshine as well. You can see in eastern Saskatchewan a little cooler, low 20s, 23 for Hudson Bay, but then we pop over to Lloydminster, 27, a mix of sun and cloud, 28 expected for Outlook and Kindersley with a mix of sun and cloud there. And then the closer we get to the southern border, the temperatures around the same, if not a little warmer. We could see or expect to see some fog in Carlisle tomorrow, 22, 23 for Broadview, and over in the southwest, 29 degrees expected for Maple Creek and Leader. Mostly sunny conditions in that area, 28 degrees for Rosetown, and then in Lumsden, Pilot Butte, 25, nothing but sunshine there. And if we take a closer look at Lanigan, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel, Lanigan, nothing but sunshine, 23 degrees is the expected high. Winds anywhere between 15 to 20 kilometers an hour. The 23 degrees, though, will feel closer to about 25 by midday tomorrow.
Accessibility has become a major talking point in communities across Canada, but despite the awareness, some people still feel left behind. That's why a community group released a 12-page document to try and increase disability education across the province. Damien Smith has that story.
The Saskatchewan-based band, the Dripping Honeys, showing their talents at the Artesian. The group is made up of 5 people with disabilities, including Amanda Zielinski, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. She says that the performing arts have always been like therapy to her.
What I feel the arts mean for everyone in the disability community is that they can be pretty surprised on just how they can expand on talents that they never knew they had, and at the same time creating true allyship and friendship in all sorts of places.
The performance is a part of a larger discussion about disability accessibility in Saskatchewan. After a 3-year process, Axis of Access was given out to audience members by Listen to This Community and Saskatchewan Arts Alliance. The 12-page document hopes to push forward several calls to action,
such as being hospitable and kind to people who come in who might have needs that you're not familiar with, or also not treating a person either like they're not there or there's somebody to be pitied.
Shaylee Rosnes, an actor who works with both the Dripping Honeys and Saskatchewan Arts Alliance, sees a day like today being a positive one for disability education.
I'm very, very proud of the team that worked to put this together and how everything came together so nicely, and just let it be a really impactful event, both through letting art speak and through the document that we've created.
It's a reminder that something like the arts can always bring people together.
The work we do really gives people a sense of community, and so I think that part of that is really what keeps people coming back to performances, events like this.
It's like music to the ears of those to create more access for everyone in the arts. Damien Smith, CTV News, Regina.
The federal government was in Saskatoon today announcing its plans to increase the supply of affordable housing in Canada and a new agency called Build Canada Homes. The feds want to get homes built faster. Secretary of State for Rural Development Buckley Belanger announced a top-up of $1.5 billion in loans to the Affordable Housing Fund. The Rapid Housing Substream will pull $385 million in funding from future years, allowing these units to be built faster.
We want to build thousands of homes, and that target is really ambitious, and we can achieve it faster, quicker, better if we have more private sector engagement, we have more provincial partners, territorial partners, and more like, for example, the community organizations that would utilize this program. The more partners we have, the faster we can build and the more we can build.
The federal government says the $1.5 billion top-up will support the creation of more than 5,000 new units. Stock reports. The markets, the TSX was up 172 points, while the Dow Jones was up almost double by 314. Canadian dollar went up 0.05 of a cent to 72.53 cents U.S. Commodities, gold up $41.02. West Texas Intermediate crude went down 87 cents, while the Western Canadian Select crude, no movement, stayed the same, $51.55 a barrel. So gas in Regina right now, we did not see any movement. It is currently sitting at $1.35.9 per liter.
Overall, retail sales dropped in July, coming in under $70 billion. Sales were down just under 1% overall, but 8 of 9 subsectors dropped. Consumers scaled back on buying clothing and accessories, sales dropping about 3% there. Sales at grocery stores also dropped about 2.5%. FedEx shares are up after the company beat estimates in its latest earnings. That's in part because Americans sent more parcels in the latest quarter. FedEx had been struggling and was expected to take a hit on the end of the de minimis exemption, which allowed some parcels to enter the U.S. duty-free. And the Ontario government's investing $200 million into Chapman's. It will allow the independent ice cream company to expand and create 200 new jobs north of Toronto in the community of Markdale. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
And coming up tonight after the newscast, it will just be CTV movie time. What are we showing you?
Endgame.
Avengers Endgame.
It's a good one.
Kind of wraps everything up, at least the first phase of Marvel. So,
oh, sorry.
There you go. Excitement time there. All right, an Edmonton comedian is gaining a large following online by giving monumental moments a bit of a twist with an Alberta accent.
If you can go out and party with the boys, then you can get up and work with the men, okay? And buddy, listen, like, I'm not trying to be a bad guy here. I've been known to buck.
Drew Bem says this bit came about when he decided to use something to his advantage that was actually costing him acting gigs.
And, you know, I'm an actor as well, and I was having a tough time booking acting gigs because of my so-called Alberta accent. You know, my agent would send me out for gigs, and I wouldn't book it because it's like, oh, yeah, this frozen food has got some meatballs in it, and, you know, like, I could never book anything, so I guess I started to use that to my strength.
And then the content creator career was born. Bem says his first accent video got about 2 million views.
Look, I was raised in Alberta. I don't sound like that. Bud.
You don't think you do. Bud. All right, some big news for fans of The Muppet Show. The beloved franchise is making a comeback.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on The Muppet Show tonight. Get things started.
Disney Plus announced The Muppet Show will return with an event marking 50 years since the beloved original series first debuted. Feature Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, gang trying to put on a variety show along with special guest Sabrina Carpenter.
Ooh.
She's set to serve as executive producer alongside Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's Point Grey Pictures. So that's going to be interesting to see how that fares.
I think it'll be a hit.
You think so?
I don't know. I gravitate back to all the old school things. Maybe, I don't know what the youngins like these days.
That is true. By the way, thanks to Emerald Ridge Elementary School, they had me out on Thursday to talk about TV broadcasting. The grade 8s are creating their own newscast on all things about their school. They call it TBN, Thunderbird News. So
cool.
Yeah.
And you taught them how to hide your Alberta accent.
Absolutely. You got to make sure you don't show your Alberta accent. Want you to have a good weekend and a safe night. I'm going to rip around the city, bud.
Okay. Bye.